Hi, this is Anna, and this is Check It at the Round Table, where we discuss movies, books, music, and stuff. Today it is really cold, so I am wearing a flannel shawl, and it is the weekend. So I decided to just have fun today and rewatch Bad Buddy. So I've started from episode 1. So we're doing a re-podcast, as it were, on episode 1 of Bad Buddy. This episode starts out the 12 episode series of Bad Buddy with a flourish and the fight, as it opens with Y fighting the whole team of engineering because he decided to get back at them and give them the finger. I'm not sure what Y is thinking. I think that's kind of my questioning of Y throughout this whole series is, what in the world is Y thinking? Because he takes on like 5 guys at once. Pat is one of the gentlemen that he is taking off from engineering, and he is saying that they aren't fighting fair, which, I kind of get. And the other thing is, I'm like, can we resolve our differences in a way that doesn't involve our fists? I mean, I'm just saying there are so many other ways that we can discuss things, reevaluate things, behave in a way that we will be proud of tomorrow, kind of things. But anyway, Pat says, you know what? If you think we're fighting unfair, go call your friends. You got 2 minutes. So Y calls a couple of his buddies, and Pran is getting ready. He's getting out his pencils in class. He has on his classical music on his earbuds. Everything is nicely arranged on his desk. And his friend comes in and goes, Y is getting beat up by engineering. We need to go help Y. And Pran is like, Y is always picking a fight with engineering. Why does he keep doing this? So Pran takes out his earbuds, puts them back in his case, gets ready to put all his pencils back, and his friend's going, we really don't have time for you to arrange your pencils according to color gradation, Pran. We need to go help Y because he's about to be pummeled by like 5 guys that are way bigger than Y. I mean, no offense, I'm like, it's one thing to pick a fight with someone who's your equal mentally and physically. It's another thing to pick a fight with, 5 people who are way bigger than you. I don't think they're more mentally intelligent than Y, except for Pat. Pat's got a little more going for him mentally than some of those others. But I'm just saying, so Y is there trying to fight with like 2 or 3 of his buddies. Pran comes in. Pat and Y have been beating each other up. Pran comes in and drop kicks Pat, which he was not expecting. And when Pat gets back up, he's winded and he's getting ready to attack. And he realizes it's Pran. We then flash back to Pran and Pat in childhood when they're lined up in like soccer practice, and Pran is again drop kicking Pat, and Pat says, this is Pran, the neighbor next door, and his family is terrible. They've done all these terrible things, and he lists them off, but basically, you name it, they've done it. And Pran is looking at Pat and going, and this is Pat, who is the kid next door, and his family has done terrible things, and he's the one with the fierce eyes. And Pat is thinking he's the one that cheats. And it's kind of funny to see both of them sitting there going, all these things that people have told them. I think it's very usual when you're a kid, young adult, to believe what people tell you. I think the thing that I think is interesting is to go into things with an open mind, because the more that we try to label people, the more that we try to say, so-and-so said this was true about someone, the more we box people in, we fail to realize their potential. I mean, even if the thing is true, I think it's always better to sit there and go, I don't know this person. Until I know this person personally, I'm not really going to develop a judgment call on this person, because you're trusting someone who may or may not be honest, even when it comes to, in this case, their own parents, on these 2 kids, Pat and Pran. So anyway, they fight, but the fight gets broken up. Also, you can tell there's this kind of weird relationship dynamic, I would say, with Pat and Pran. And Pat's younger sister, finds out that Pat has been fighting with Pran, who ended up at the same school. And also, Pran's parents find out that Pat is at university that Pran is at. And Pran's mother makes the comment, well, if I'd known that, I wouldn't have put you in this school. I'm really not sure why she thinks she should control her child's college decisions. I mean, no offense. This woman is like a major control freak. It's really annoying to watch on film. I mean, I totally get that she has some long-standing issues that she needs to go to a therapist to resolve, but really, she needs some help. So anyway, you kind of get to see Pran's family dynamic and Pat's family dynamic. Pran's house is very tidy and orderly. There's classical music playing. They're using the correct silverware. Pat's family is all sitting around the table, no music, and guzzling their food. And Pa's sitting there, Pat's younger sister, going, this is my brother. Why did I get such a brother? So anyway, that's their relationship. And also Pa has to clean up her brother's laundry, and she cleans his dorm room. I'm really not quite sure why on either of those things that Pa's parents make her do her brother's laundry. I'm like, does he not have two arms? Can he not do his own laundry? I mean, no offense. I'm like, I've been doing laundry when I was a kid a lot. So I'm like, you know, you put soap in the machine, or if you don't have the machine, like, you know, sometimes they didn't have the machine in different countries. You put soap in the tub, you wash your clothes, and you hang them up. It's really not high science, and it's not something that your younger sister should do because of nature of she's the younger sibling. That makes no sense at all. No, she's the known, I think is what, okay? I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to learn Thai and I'm not doing very good at remembering my vocabulary. But anyway, moving on. So Pat is kind of coming across as a jerk, I would say, in the initial part of this episode. Pran, he's kind of a person who is kind of fed up with Pat. And, you know, Pran is one of the characters I think that I really understand. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I watch this and I go, I'm kind of watching myself on film in certain respects when it comes to Pran's personality. And I'm like, I'm seeing positives and negatives to that. Because it's kind of like when I watch To My Star and I'm watching and I'm going, you know, I'm so like Jinwoo sometimes. I really need to work on that a little bit. But in a way, I think that's one of the reasons that I like BL dramas. It helps me see the parts of myself that may or may not be a good thing, and to sit there and go, I really need to reevaluate this facet of my life because I don't want to come off quite as much that way as maybe I do. So anyway, but Pran, he's kind of the person who you can tell he's been emotionally repressed for a long time because of his familial dynamic. But the other thing is he tries really hard to keep things calm for people, which I think is kind of a neat attribute for him. And even though he's mad at Pat, I mean, you can tell he's peeved at Pat. He's not mad like he hates his guts kind of mad, which you would kind of expect with the fact that, you know, they've been pitted against each other since utero. I mean, there's a hilarious scene where their mothers are basically offering to the priests who come by to visit, which is kind of a tradition in Thailand when I guess a woman is pregnant maybe. And so they're offering some food and saying basically, I want my son to be handsome. I want my son to be more handsome. I want my son to have a amazing girlfriend. I want my son to have a girlfriend who doesn't understand jealousy. And I love the meme that I saw on this, which I don't know if I can drop it in this video, but it was bloody hilarious where it says the mothers and they're offering their things for the girlfriend and it says the sons and it's the rooftop scene. I'm going, it kind of has it's kind of comical. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily meant to be comical, but I'm sitting there going, you know, fate has a weird way of working things out sometimes in ways that we just were not anticipating. So anyway, you have two people have been pit against each other for years, but yet Pran, even though he doesn't really like Pat as a person because Pat's beating people up, Pat's being, you know, annoying in many, many different ways, he doesn't hate his guts, which is kind of strange when you think about it as a viewer. If you were watching this for the first time, I think it's kind of neat to go back and watch things after they've aired to kind of get another perspective. I did that with We Best Love, doing it with this series. I think I'm going to do it with 1,000 Stars too. But it's interesting on a second time around, once you know the rest of the story, to sit there and go, you know, given the circumstances, Pat should have been a little more angry, as it were, at Pran. I mean, Pran should have been more angry at Pat, but he's not. The other thing is I think you kind of get hints that Pran does kind of like Pat. I mean, it's not really all there yet, but now Pat, I don't think you really get hints. Now you do get hints that in this episode, you find out Pa, who is picking up her brother's laundry again, says, Pat, I know that you're having a fight with architecture, but you are not going to hurt Pran. And you know why you're not going to hurt Pran. You're doing it for me, and you are not going to hurt him. And I want your word on this. And Pat just sits there and goes, okay, I won't do it. And you're sitting there as the viewer going, I wonder what that's about, because it's kind of weird that he just stops. You find out as the story progresses that the reason that Pat just stops is Pran went into a ditch and pulled Pa out when she was a child, drowning, and saved her from dying. And he always told Pran that if he ever needed something, he would owe him one. And so he also retrieved a watch when he was a child and gave it to Pran. He jumped through his house window and gave it to him. Well, then they're in college and they've had another fight. Pat has pulled Pran out of the fight against the wall because he knew his friends were trying to get Y, but instead they got Pran. And he remembered his promise to Pa, and he pulled him into an alley and then against a wall. And he says, shh, don't say anything. And the thing is kind of funny because that's kind of his modus operandi. He loves putting his hand on Pran's mouth and going, shh. So anyway, that's what happens. And Pran is like, I am really upset. What on earth are you doing? And he says, I promised Pa you wouldn't get hurt. So just come to the car. I'll take you to your house, whatever. So he takes him there and he's rather upset. And Pa's rather upset because she's like, you know what, Pat? You said you weren't going to get him hurt and he's hurt. So what on earth is going on here? So anyway, you have that. Pat ends up jumping into Pran's room again as an adult, like he did when he was a kid. And he says, I come in peace, okay? Don't tell your mom I'm here. I just want to talk to you about what's going on. And can you please just leave your friend Y alone so we can just beat him up and nobody else gets hurt? And that will be the end of this battle. And he's like, Pran's like, no, I'm not going to let you beat up my friend. Even if my friend did something wrong, this is not something I can just stand by and let someone get beat up over. And so he says, well, what if I got Y to apologize? Would that make it okay? If I got Y to apologize to all of engineering, would you guys maybe just quit fighting? And so they basically all line up. Pat and Pran knows what's going on. Y and no one else does. And he says, you know what? I am the class president. I will apologize for engineering for Y giving the finger when he shouldn't have. Will that take care of this issue? I take the blame because I am the class president. And Y sits there and goes, I can't let you take the blame because you didn't do anything, Pran. So if someone's going to apologize, it will be me. I am sorry. Well, then Corn on engineering side says, you think you can fix this with just being sorry? And then all hell breaks loose again. And the boys are at it. And Pat and Pran are sitting there as everyone is fighting, going, we had this planned out, but we weren't planning on the fact that we're dealing with hormonal idiots. And okay, so anyway, they end up getting pulled aside by their teacher and they say, you know what, I know that you guys don't get along, but if you cause any more trouble, you will not be able to be in any activities together in this college because it's not working for you guys to be together in any way. You all just fight all the time. So anyway, and Pat and Pran both want to be in the Freshie Music Day competition. And Pran has not really played the guitar in a while. You don't know why. Pat just wants to be in it so that he can compete against Pran. And they're sitting there after the fight. And